So I've picked a couple of questions from the homework. So this is exercise 14F question 5b. It says 3 to the power of x plus 5 equals 6 to the power x. The best way to approach this is to take logs. You see, this is an exponential form. The powers are variables, and so the best way to undo that is to take logs. Doesn't matter what base you take, so I'm just going to take base 10. You can take any base you want. And what logs allows us to do, because of power law, we can now bring this power down to the front. So we get that, and we can bring this power down as well, and so we get this. Now we can expand this as a bracket. And so we get that, and then take all the x's to one side. I'm going to take it to the right actually, so 5 log 3 is equal to x log 6 take away x log 3. Factorize the x out. And then divide by log 6 minus log 3. And if you put that into your calculator, you should get the answer for x. And so the answer for that is x equals 7.9248. Bear in mind the question asked for it in 4 decimal places. Now the next question that we were asked to do is 14G, that I've picked to do is 14G question 3C. So this is, well, by the looks of it, it looks like a quadratic. It's got something squared in there, so it looks like a quadratic. So I'm going to let y equal ln x. So if I do that, then you get y squared plus 2y minus 15 equals 0. And so we can now factorize this. And we're going to need a plus there. And so y equals minus 5, or y equals 3. But y wasn't what we were solving for. We were solving for x. So ln x, which was y, equals minus 5, or ln x equals 3. And to inverse ln, so ln, mathematicians are lazy. And so instead of writing log base e, we don't write log base e, we just write ln in short form. So log base e is the same as writing ln. So if I have log base e of x equals minus 5, and I want to get rid of the log base e, then I got to take put it in exponential. Exponential is the inverse of log form. So basically, if I do that for both sides, I take e to the power of both sides, then log base e and e cancel, giving you x is equal to e to the power minus 5. And the question said give your answer in exact form, so I'm going to leave it as e to the power minus 5. Then we've got the other one which said ln of x equals 3, so that means log base e of x equals 3. And if I take e to the power of both sides, then the log base e cancels, and I'm left with x equals e cubed. Right, and then 14G question 6 looked a bit like this. Excuse me. Right, this was a bit trickier, and it's 5 marks, so let's have a look. The answer's in form of ln. We can see that the answer's given to us, and it's in form of ln. So what we should do is take lns of both sides. And the benefit of this, just like in 14F, is that we've got powers here. And log laws, one of the laws of logs, allows us to bring that power down. What you've got to be careful of here is you've learned both sides. So it's like saying I've square rooted both sides. So I'm square rooting this whole thing. So I'm taking ln of this whole thing on the left. Now I can't bring these powers down because there's 2 different sets of powers, and the x applies to the 3 and the 4x minus 1 applies to the e. So what I need to do here is split them up. So another log law says that if I'm adding logs, then I can multiply the numbers together. So doing the opposite of that means that if they're being multiplied, here we got 3 to the x multiplied by e to the 4x minus 1, that means I can split them up into additions. So I've done that. Now I can bring the x down, and I can bring the 4x minus 1 down. But what's another law that we had said that log base a of a equals 1. Well, that makes sense because a to the power 1 equals a. Well, then let's have a look at ln e. Ln is log base e of e. So I've got the same base and the same number here, so that must be 1. So this section here just equals 1. So I've got x ln 3 plus 4x minus 1 times by 1 equals ln 5. Now I need to make x the subject. So I'm going to take the minus 1 to the other side. I'm going to write it as 1 plus ln 5. If you write it as ln 5 plus 1, it gets a bit confusing if you're learning the 1 or not as well. So you write it a little bit separately so that you don't get confused or put a bracket around the 5. So that's why I've written it as 1 plus ln 5. And then factorize the x out. So you get ln 3 plus 4. Again, I'm going to put a bracket here so that it looks, so you can tell it's only of ln 3. And when I take it over, I divide, and so I get 1 plus ln 5 over, and then I'll write it as 4 plus ln 3 to avoid all confusion. And that's in the form that we wanted the answer. A plus ln b over c plus ln d, which is that. Okay. Now the last question I want to do is this one. This was in the UP last year. Don't worry, I'm not giving you an insight into what the UP will be this year. This is just a practice question you can use. Because you wouldn't have seen this before, I suggest that you pause this recording, try and have a go at doing this question yourself, and then you can watch me do that. Okay. So the question says, by taking logs of base 10 of both sides of the equation, find the value of x, for which 4 to the power 3x plus 2 is equal to 3 to the power 600, giving your answers to 4 sig fig. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to take log base 10. They've told us to take log base 10. So, oh, that looks like 660. Let me rub that out, so make it 600. Right, and then we can bring the 3x plus 2. You should be very familiar with this law. I like it. I like this law. It's like the best law of logs, where you can bring the power down. And you can do the bring the power down here as well if you want. It doesn't really matter. It's all going to go in the calculator eventually anyway, so it's just a number, this log base 10 of 3 to the 600. And then we need to make x the subject, so if we expand this side, we get that. And then let's take everything to one side. Well, take all the numbers to one side. You gotta remember that 2 log 10 of 4, that's just a number. You can put it in a calculator, it will give you an answer. And so x is equal to log 10 of 3 to 600 minus 2 log 10 of 4 divided by 3 log 10 of 4. And then what we want to do is we just want to put that in the calculator. Remember that the answer was meant to be given to 4 significant figures. So when you put that in the calculator, it should give you x is equal to 157.8 to 4 sig fig. Okay, right, now let's have a look at part B. Part B said, I'm just going to take this and put it lower down. So there we have it. And now part B says, given that log base a of 3b minus 2 minus 2 log base a of 5 equals 4, find an expression for b in terms of a. So what we're going to do, we've got a subtraction, the logs are being subtracted, so that means we can divide, but there's a problem, there's a 2 here. So we can't do division until we move that 2. So we know where that 2 goes, that can go to the power. Alright, now, that's a subtraction. Now we can divide them. So we've got 3b minus 2 divided by 5 squared, which is 25. So log a of that equals 4. Now the most important law of logs is the one that allows us to convert from log form to power form. I'll just write it here. This allows us to get out of log form and into power form. And this is using the inverse function. So what's the opposite of log a? Well, the opposite of that is taking a to the power. So I'm going to write out all the steps. You can just jump this step, but I'm just going to write it out to show you why it works. And so I've taken a to the power of both sides, so I'm going to take a to the power this side. And now a and log a to the power and log a are inverses, just like in the earlier question, e and ln cancelled. A and log a cancel. So leaving me with 3b minus 2 over 25. That says 25 equals a to the power 4. And then the question said, find an expression for b in terms of a, so we need to make b the subject. And so we end up with something like that. Okay, great.